Okay, so welcome to the Guest List podcast with me, your host, Steve Guest. I've developed this podcast purely really from creating my book Top Biller and then going out to my network and saying, how can I further this journey? How can I go out there and still look to create more content, more value, inspire, empower as many recruiters and listeners within my network as far reaching as possible. So I went out and asked my network who you'd like to hear from, who I should be talking to and getting to know a little bit further. As I wanted to kind of have a main focus for this podcast centered around high performance, top billing consultants, motivational and inspirational leaders, coaches, managers and mentors. The result of this post actually brought about my guest for today, which really needs no introduction, certainly not in the recruitment world. And it's somebody very well known to me. And I'm delighted to have him on the show today. And that is James Osborne. Welcome, James.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's very nice to be nominated and very nice to be part of this. So thank you.
No, it's very good. I'm excited to talk to you. So I'm going to give you a bit of an overview in terms of James, first of all. So James is an award-winning business consultant, advisor and entrepreneur with an international board level background in the staffing and recruitment sector. For the past 14 years, James has worked with the recruitment business leaders, helping them to achieve significant growth, performance management and competitive advantages, acting as a non-executive director, consultant, trainer and strategist for numerous fast growth recruitment businesses. James is a passionate speaker on behalf of the staffing and recruitment sector and is the chairman of the Recruitment Network, the fastest growing global support and advisory club for recruitment business leaders. That is some bio, James.
I read it myself. Thank you. I can give you the full length version if you like. It goes on for 35 minutes, man. It's one of those things. It's always funny, isn't it, when people ask you to sort of submit a bio and it's like, how proud and confident or arrogant can I be about your career and that type of stuff. I'm very proud about what I've done. I'm very proud about the Recruitment Network and what we do. So it's nice to hear it back anyway.
No, it's really good. As I say, I think to summarize a career or a journey in 2 or 3 paragraphs, I think is particularly difficult anyway.
I think so. I think it is because I think probably now more than ever with what's been going on in the world, I think we realise there's a lot more to our journeys than just the actual work side of things. And a lot more has an impact on our performance and where we've got to now, how we're responding to this current situation, everything else. And I think, if you were to write a sort of a bio of your journey in life, work would just be one of those threads within that has basically created who you are now and how therefore you react and respond in a situation like this. So
I think so. I think certainly the last 12 months has almost, it's created, I suppose what was perhaps an imbalance before, and it's made people look and reassess things perhaps in a different light, whether that is work-life balance, whether it's just your general work and life and the surrounding things you get up to. I think it's been a good time to reflect.
I think it has. It's been a forced time to reflect. I don't think anyone was sort of wanted to do this necessarily, but I think on reflection, quite a lot of people are quite happy with the ability to do this reflection piece. And I think I think the word that I use the most at the moment is appreciation. I think people really now appreciate a lot more of what they've got.
Yeah.
The value of time is a lot more than it's ever been before. The value of family, the value of freedom and all that sort of stuff that we've had sort of taken away from us to an extent, I think has really just gone off the scale sort of stuff. And that's really important, I think. I'm hoping a lot of people embrace that as part of their future, how they're going to sort of come out of this and how they're going to work and behave afterwards.
Yeah, completely. And so from your perspective, obviously being chairman of the Recruitment Network, you are in contact with and in conversation with recruitment businesses globally. I mean, is the impact, is it a common thread in terms of just recruitment on a global scale? Has it had the same sorts of impact regardless of culture, country or place?
This has been really fascinating, and I'm one of I call myself an observer of life. It's one of the things I've always done, which I just like to watch stuff. There's sort of people who sit in the cafes with a long coffee for about 5 hours just watching people. Right? That's me. I love that, and I think part of this situation is that I've been really observing different things and working in whether it be in Europe, whether it be in Australia, the US, without doubt. And there's been a classic expression that's been going around that, we're all in the same storm, but in different boats and whatever. And it's absolutely right. People have experienced this in so many different ways. Some in fairly good ways. I'll be honest with you. But some people have had a really, really good time over this period because they've been making more money potentially. They're saving more money. They are not, doing different things they wouldn't normally do. I think the recruitment sector generally has done incredibly well over this period. I'm blown away by it, impressed, and in love with it even more than I was beforehand. So I think the industry itself has done really, really well. I think it would be pretty strong. Obviously not all parts of it and not everywhere geographically, but generally most of the companies that we work with have done well. They've dug deep. They've got good businesses set up, good structure set up, and they've come out. Have they come out more profitable than they would have been this time last year? Not always. Have they come out stronger, better businesses for it? Yes. And that's a good thing. So, I think generally from a business point of view, the recruitment sector has done incredibly well. And I think we've demonstrated, one of the things that people always say about recruiters is that we are an incredibly resilient bunch of people. We have to be in our industry where, you spend most of the time getting knockbacks from candidates not turning up for interviews or clients changing their mind or whatever it might be. There's a lot of negatives in it. You get used to that. So I think that set us up really nicely, as much as you can nicely, in a situation like this, where we sort of managed to, I hate to use the word, but I'm going to use it, pivot a lot better than maybe other people have been able to do. We've hunkered down a little bit better. We've got on with stuff. We haven't really complained. Some have, but not everybody. And I think that's good. So I think it shows that as an industry, we're strong. And, a big part of what's going to help us, the UK economy, get out of this situation from an economic point of view is, I think the recruitment sector is a big part of that, will play a big, big driving part of that without doubt. But also the attitudes and the resilience and the mindset of recruiters, I think, is demonstrative of what a lot of people need to do more of if we want to all get out of this together. That positive mindset is absolutely spot on right now. I fervently believe in it. And I think that's the difference one of the differences between those recruitment businesses and recruiters doing really well right now is they've got a strong, positive, optimistic outlook with a sense of reality, obviously, in comparison to those who are basically sort of saying, let's just hope it all goes away and, forget it, this is awful, that sort of stuff. Of course it's awful, but like anything, there's a good side and there's a bad side. And the reality is the bad side, the opportunity is the good side of it.
I think that's it. And I had a similar discussion earlier where you can go two paths, can't you? You can be faced with something that has been world changing and economically it's changed things and it's changed the potential outlook. And you can sit there and feel overwhelmed by the problem and just see the problem. Or you can sit there and think, where are the opportunities? How can I change or diversify what I do to ensure that actually I become bigger and better? And it's quite often the case with recruiters. We can almost feel consumed by the levels of rejection or that constant kind of brick wall that we face. But you've got to find that resilience to get past it. And you either see the opportunity or actually you become the defeated.
Completely. And I think you're right. And I think, an expression that we've used from day one of this whole COVID situation, but it's the same expression that we've been using for years with recruiters, is control the controllables. There are some things now that are just outside of our control, whether you like it or not. If I wake up every day and focus my day on the things I have no control over, then I'm probably going to have a bit of a rubbish day. But the things I can control and I can influence and I can utilize to my advantage, then that's the stuff that I'm going to focus on. And that, to me, is now more prevalent than it's ever been before, but certainly is a common theme and thread amongst any great recruiter that I know.
I mean, we've discussed within all of that some character traits and actually just some traits of how a business could potentially be set up with its staff. But what would you say from your experience in terms of perhaps looking at your average recruiter? What defines a top performing recruiter, perhaps compared to the run of the mill? What are the differences? What are the qualities?
Huge amount of luck.
Do you think there's luck in there?
Yeah, there's definitely luck in it, without doubt. I mean, and you make your own luck, of course you do, right? And how much time and effort and the style of effort you invest into your work will determine how much luck comes out the other end. Of course it does. But there's definitely luck in our industry. There has to be, because, I know recruiters who pick up business without even asking for it. It just suddenly turned up in their lap. And, they've closed deals within 24 hours because the candidate was already chosen. So it's just like, well, that's got to be lucky, right? Why were they the person to go to? Well, they worked hard to be present in front of that client. So there's both sides to it. So there is an amount of luck, without doubt, but you make your own luck. I think it's a really interesting one, really. A lot of things that we talk about when we talk to new recruits, I suppose, and when they say, what do I need to do, be better at, good at, to really sort of outperform the market quickly. We talk about things like, self-confidence and non-subservience. I use the word subservience quite a lot, which is, how where people are quite apologetic, sort of like, would you mind if I do business with you? Could I possibly, would it be okay? Of course, we'll drop our margins because everybody else has, type attitude. That subservience, I think, holds people back hugely. It has held back a lot of people in our industry for a number of years. So you've got the other end of the scale, which is the arrogance, which I don't think necessarily works. But there's a bit in the middle, which is that real self-confidence that what we do is brilliant. Our products are brilliant. You therefore need to pay for it. That's just the reality of how it works in business. So I think confidence is really important. Self-confidence. I think passion for I was actually having this conversation with a client a second ago, actually, about passion for your product and what you do. So not a false passion, but actually you're really interested in what it is that you're doing. So if you're placing tech people, developers, that you're passionate about tech. If you're placing construction workers, you're passionate about construction. I think it's quite hard to do it otherwise. It becomes very transactional if you don't have a real passion for your art, which I think is important. So self-confidence, I think passion for your art is important. And then I'll be very honest with you. I think a really good mindset and a positive mindset that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. I'm a big fan of it, but much as I'm an optimist, I'm also a big opportunist. I love the idea that if there's an opportunity, you should go for it, even if you probably don't deserve to have the right to go for it. You should go for it anyway. Why not? And then figure it out later. And I think it's a classic Richard Branson-esque thing to say, isn't it? But it's sort of true. Go and win it, work it out how you're going to do it afterwards. So that mindset piece is really important. And I say that because a lot of people will often say, surely you need to be well organized and structured and that type of stuff. I know amazing recruiters who are completely all over the place, but because they're so on it and so in the zone all the time, it doesn't really matter. Could they be even more successful if they were more organized? You could probably argue yes, but then they probably wouldn't enjoy it as much because that's not their way of doing things. So I don't think necessarily being more organized necessarily makes you a better recruiter per se. And I don't think, and I think to me, a lot of this stuff is attitudinal stuff more than anything else.
I think that's a big thing. And you mentioned there about just the fear. I suppose the fear factor can sometimes stop people from doing things. And we had a conversation just off air before we started this on the basis that the start of the pandemic, we were in conversation, and I think I'd just done the 5 power plays with the Recruitment Network. And you asked about me doing a live 30-minute talk as part of the group. And I remember seeing the email late on a Friday, and I had a couple of drinks, so I was probably a little bit braver than normal. And I just commented back to say, yeah, that's not a problem, I'll do it. And then spent the next 2 days worrying about what I was going to say, how I was going to do it. We're in lockdown. We've got 2 kids and a puppy. It's not going to be quiet. I'm not going to be able to get it done in one take. And all these things start entering your head. And actually, once I'd done it, there weren't really things I should be worrying about. And I think as humans, we put so many self-limiting beliefs in front of us that kind of stop us from becoming the person we could be if actually we just had a little bit more belief and just thought, you know what, if it fails, it fails. We just pick up and have another go.
I think you're right. I'm a huge fan and believer of the sort of the concept around comfort zones and what a comfort zone is actually there for. And I think, some people use their comfort zone as a protective mechanism. And I don't think that's what it's for. I think a comfort zone is there as almost like a way of stretching yourself out. How far can you stretch out the comfort zone? So you don't reach a panic zone, so it doesn't go too much, but you're stretching it out all the time. And every week, every month, every year, is your comfort zone getting ever so slightly bigger, which gives you more confidence to do something else. And I think the people I know in life and in business who like to try and stretch their comfort zones without going too far, but just try and push the all the time, though, all the time, are the ones who seem to grow, seem to enjoy the journey a lot more. They seem to almost like, you know, when something happens, when something goes wrong, it's like, excellent, something's going wrong. Let's now work out how we're going to fix this. It's almost like an opportunity, as opposed to something's gone wrong. This is awful. And there's a fine balance between the two. But you know, I like it when people really try and think about, how do I grow all the time? Am I continuously learning, evolving, developing my skills, my confidence, and everything else? And whether that, say, it could be in your personal life, it could be in your business life, it doesn't matter. Same thing.
It's everything, isn't it? And I think
so.
I've certainly been on a mission for a few years, and I think it can be tiring, because it's exhausting doing things that scare you or things that put you out your comfort zone. But you have to be relentless with it. And I think it's constantly putting things in front of you that you can attain, that actually you just think, you know what, I've come such a distance from where I was 6 months ago, 12 months ago and beyond. Even basics of doing social media videos or live videos or interviews, they're quite tough for a lot of people.
No, for sure. And I think, you know, we've got to be sensible with this, because there's too far and there's too far. And I think if people go too far, then that has an impact on things like their mental well-being and that type of stuff. So you've got to be sensible with this. And, you know, I don't like it when there's someone out there beating the drum, basically saying, you know, during COVID, if you haven't, you know, learned 5 new instruments and transformed your business and rebuilt your house 6 times, then, you know, wasted this time. Rubbish. That's not true. And as some people say, just getting through this is success in itself for a lot of people. But there is an argument to be said that, you know, if you are just sitting at home at the moment, dwelling about the things that are outside of your control, you are probably not utilizing this to the best advantage, and you're probably going down a more negative route than a more positive route. And I think that's, whatever your journey is, however vast it might be on the positive route, as long as it's in that journey, then that's the main thing. Yeah,
of course. So obviously we've talked a little bit about failure there. Where have there been instances in your kind of career where things have failed and you've sat there and thought, what am I going to do with this? How do I recover, or where do I go from here? Has there been any big turning points?
Yeah, I've had hundreds of failures daily, and still do daily. No, I think, I mean, this is the tapestry of life, isn't it? It's about you fail, then you learn, and you move on and build again, and don't make the same mistake twice. I mean, that's the rule of thumb. I've had some big changes in my personal life that I think have impacted how I do things. Certainly, the biggest one being when I lost my first son a number of years ago, and that was a real life-changing moment. I don't dwell on it. I'm not looking for drama or anything. It's just the reality of what happened in my life. I've got 2 lovely kids now, but you know, those sort of moments teach you a hell of a lot about, you know, what really matters and what doesn't matter, and that sort of stuff. So those sort of moments, I think, are important. Important what you do with them, how you respond to them. In business, I've made lots and lots of mistakes. I can think of all sorts of examples, actually. I suppose, I mean, a classic example with one of the businesses I was involved with in Australia that I was heading up at the time, you know, we overexpanded far too quickly. We got far too ahead of ourselves. And it was really exciting, and we got really too excited by the journey and the bright lights of the massive office that we just put down a 10, 20, 15-year lease on, or whatever it was. And you know, and it was overstretching the business. And what I learned from that, which is something I've never done since, is you build strong foundations first, which are built out of profit, and then you scale quickly from that. And that, to me, was a really good learning curve for me personally, and it's certainly done well ever since. So, I mean, I've made all sorts of stuff. I made mistakes with people. You know, you trust people, and they're the wrong people to trust. You recruit people, and they didn't turn out how you thought they were going to work out. You had great people that you let go when you really should have invested far more time in them, and then you realize afterwards it's too late. You know, we do it all day long, and there's not anyone on this planet who hasn't made thousands of mistakes, and we're all still making them now. But again, it's about how you learn from them. And one of the real benefits or the advantages of something like what we do at the Recruitment Network is we're continuously looking at everyone's mistakes that we've made and just telling everybody else, well, they just made a mistake and it didn't work and it ruined that part of the business and slowed them down, so don't you do it. You know, it's a fairly simple thing and conceptually, but it's sort of like, it's just right.
It's powerful though. I mean, having that sort of network is extremely powerful.
It is powerful, and I think, you know, one thing we take great pride in our network is about this, that everyone in the Recruitment Network are genuinely honest people who are very open and honest about their businesses, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we're not out there in the market saying every one of our members are smashing it at the moment and they're killing it because they're following the 8.7 James Osborne blueprint or something, and it's a load of rubbish. we have guidebooks and playbooks and processes that we show people to follow, and a big chunk of them work for a lot of our members. But the reality is a lot of our members still make mistakes every day, and we're learning from them every day. I mean, everybody, the way I look at it, every day is a new day that you're learning from. I haven't had today before, so I don't quite know how I'm going to respond to it, but I'm hoping all the mistakes and the successes I've had in the past will help me make the right decision for tomorrow, and that type of stuff. And I think that's the sort of the premise behind it.
It's great kind of outlook on things. I embarked on a kind of similar journey in the fact that I was always taught. So I've been in recruitment 15 years, and you almost kind of taught to ring fence everything, and you protect your clients, you protect your candidates, you almost hide things because you want to make that placement as quickly as possible. And I think as I've grown through recruitment, you almost kind of realise that it's almost at the detriment of the service. And I'm now in a position where I want collaboration. I want people to work together. I want recruiters to work together to actually improve perhaps the image of recruitment in certain parts, because we're not always looked at on a positive light from clients and candidates. And there's a whole education piece in there to say, actually, we work bloody hard. And there's some really, really excellent businesses and consultants out there, but we quite often will get tarnished with the same brush.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you get that in every industry. I mean, there's not one industry that's got a perfect image and reputation. The recruitment sector is full of amazing people. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. And I'm biased, but I'm only saying that because I know them and I meet them every day, and you see what they do. So yeah, I think there are great people in our industry. It's a brilliant industry. We do a hell of a lot of good stuff for a hell of a lot of good people. And whether anyone says otherwise, we do enable, we do change people's lives. We do. That's the reality of what we do. Is we can't get away from that in some format. Whether we do it quickly or whether it's taken us 5 years or whatever, and we've earned the rights, we do. Yeah. I think, it's one of those things. I always look at this and think, why does our industry have a bad perceived reputation in some instances? And I don't think, the nature of recruitment is a sales industry. So by default of that, everyone's selling all the time. That would have an influence on that. Does that mean we become very selfish people because we want to make the deal and that type of stuff? Possibly, yes. Is that a bad thing? Well, no, because by making the deal, we're actually helping someone get a job and we're helping a business move forward. So everybody sorts of wins, providing that you're placing the right candidates in the right jobs for the right reasons, which I think the majority of the sector do. Yeah. Without doubt. So it's a really interesting one. I've always found one, isn't it? Yeah. It is difficult. And I think, I think people are learning this idea now that there's a lot more to recruitment. Recruiters learn the idea there's a lot more to recruitment than just filling jobs. It's about long-term relationships. I mean, coming into COVID, without doubt, the best recruiters who have done so well during this COVID period are the ones that came into COVID with strong, embedded, long-term relationships with their customers. Their customers saw them as partners, not just a supplier. Yeah. And that has really, really held them in great stead over this period, without a shadow of a doubt. That says a lot to me, that, in order to be a true partner, you've got to have confidence, you've got to deliver, you've got to deliver an amazing service, you've got to go above and beyond, you've got to share. All those things which, some people might say are a bit soft and a bit weak. It's just about doing the deal. I don't know if it is, actually. I think it's about a long-term game here.
They're integral. And I think quite often the consultant part of the recruitment consultant is overlooked. Actually being consultative and going back and adding value to your clients and candidates, whatever that might be, even if it's down to just simply putting your supply chain together. We as recruiters are in touch with so many people on any given day that actually just joining the dots can help our environment so quickly with no monetary value or return. It's actually just, do you know what? You need to talk to that person, or you need to go and have a chat with them. And as recruiters, I'm a firm believer that you start offering that sort of service and it puts you over and above anything else anyway.
I definitely agree. There's a caveat to that. This is a two-way relationship. So organizations need to allow recruiters to be consultative in the first place. And the trouble is, if you've got organizations who are being very, putting their agencies at very arm's length distance, hiding behind portals and everything else, you can't be consultative. You are just a recruitment administrator. And that then devalues who we are. So there's a big sense of actually that, a lot of what we do, maybe the reputation that we've got sometimes as an industry, is not actually our fault. It's because this is how we are treated. You could ask, are we treated like that because we created that in the first place? And so the story might go on and on.
Yeah.
But recruitment is a two-way partnership between a client and an agency from a sales point of view and a business point of view, and obviously with the candidate as well. But it's a two-way partnership, and the client has to turn up. The client has to do their bit. The client has to give a recruiter access to the hiring manager to be able to understand the culture properly, to be able to do a proper recruitment job. The client has to come back and come back on CVs and set up interview times in a timely manner. If that doesn't happen, we can't do our job properly. And if we can't do our job properly, then the whole thing becomes bastardized. And that's where the whole thing breaks down. Yeah. That starts a little bit where the recruiter has to position himself in the first place. As they walk in the door with the customer, we come here to be a partner and run a partnership with you, not to be a supplier.
Yeah, very well put. Okay, so throughout your kind of journey and what's got you to here, what would you say, or who would you say have perhaps been the biggest influencers, or the people that have made the biggest difference?
I actually get asked this question quite regularly. It's a funny question to ask. I get asked this question regularly, and there's a bunch of people in my life who have significantly influenced how I do what I do, and I suppose who I am now. I won't mention names because a couple of them are people that I don't approve of the way they work. And that actually has influenced how I try and do the complete opposite. I use them as my alternative benchmark, I suppose, in essence. But there was I remember a particular boss I had over in Australia years ago when I first started out in recruitment, a guy called Peter. Phenomenal guy, and he was just what I thought leadership was about was running around being very noisy and waving your hands around. And I am quite a noisy hand waving sort of bloke anyway right now, but I admit that, don't worry. But I thought leadership was about that. Does everyone like me? Am I the noisy guy at the front of the room and that type of stuff? And do you want to come on this big journey with me and that sort of thing? And what Peter made me realize that you didn't need to do that. And that's not the way it works. You need to get close to people. You need to understand people, their motivators, their drivers, what turns them off, what turns them on. You need to know everything about them. Mm-hmm. And Peter was brilliant at that. I remember him distinctively, every time you'd have a meeting with Peter, it would feel like that was the only meeting he had in the day. And you felt like his number one person. So that to me was huge for me, really huge. And there's been a lot of people who have influenced my life. I've got an amazing business partner, Gordon, who obviously
Gordon,
Gordon and I, we've been working together for 16 years now. We've got another business together, and we're very, very close. We're very, very different in how we do stuff. But we've worked out how to work together and how to. He absolutely takes all of my weaknesses and basically counteracts them with his strengths and vice versa. And he hasn't got many weaknesses. I've got all the weaknesses. He just he covers my arse for me, basically the way of describing it. But I mean, Gordon is brilliant from as a coach. He's phenomenal as the way he treats people and deals with people. Phenomenal. His mindset and understanding around process is second to none. It's absolutely brilliant. So I learned a huge lot from Gordon. I aspire a lot to be a lot of things that I don't have that he has, sort of stuff. And I'll never get there. I know that because he will just keep getting better and better, and I'll keep trying. And in the meantime, I'll just carry on waving my hands around and that type of stuff. But as a pair, I think that's something I definitely learned, is that if you've got the right person with you or the right people around you, you can really do anything you want to do. It's hard to do it on your own sometimes, I think. And
it is. I think you always need that sounding board. I love Gordon. A story with Gordon. I remember messaging him. I sent him a copy of my book when it first got published.
Yeah.
And he'd said, I'm actually doing a training event in Birmingham. I think it was on the Thursday. Why don't you pop in? We can have a quick coffee during the break and just have a little bit of a natter. You can tell me a bit about the book. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. So I got the train into Birmingham. He said, just creep into the back of the room. And he goes, and we'll just go and grab that coffee at the break. So I kind of crept in at the back. There was probably 30, 40 recruiters in there. And I don't think I'd even got halfway across the room. And Gordon stopped the training and went, everybody turn round. We've got Steve Guest, the published book author of Top Biller. If you want to go and grab a photo with him at the break, you want to go and get your book signed. And I was stood there going, what? it was the kind of still early days for me. And I think if
Yeah.
he'd said, that's what I'm going to do, there's not a chance I'd have even walked in that room.
I know, and that's very much G. I mean, and
Yeah.
sorry, I call him G, but Gordon.
Yeah.
But and he'd love this. I mean, his ears are burning hot right now, I'm sure. But you know, if I was to summarise Gordon as a business partner, and the question I suppose is, you know, what is it? Who's inspired me and motivated me the most? You know, Gordon is just a genuine guy, a genuinely good guy. There's no other way to describe it. He's not a guy you want to have a pint with, you want to go to the rugby with, you want to do business with. He's just great. So I suppose, you know, if I look at all the people over the years who have really influenced me and motivated me, and the ones I have really respected, they're just genuine people, genuinely good people. And the ones I haven't, that I fight against, or, you know, teaches me to be the opposite, are the ones who I just don't think are particularly genuine. You know, they've always got an ulterior motive, an alternative agenda. And I don't like that particularly personally.
No, I agree. Okay, so in terms of the listeners, so this will be going out to recruiters that are just starting their journey. That would be recruitment consultants that have been doing this for longer, if not the same as me. If there was one key takeaway from everything that's gone on this year, everything around us, what would you be saying to people to say, how are you going to get from where you are now to that perhaps next level?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is remember this is an opportunity. So what we've been given here is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't like global pandemics and all the stuff that happens outside of business. But when we're talking about business, this is a massive opportunity for the good recruiters to really demonstrate how good they are and to take market share. And I think, you know, what will they need to do to be able to do that? Get a lot closer to their customers, demonstrate their true value and worth, get rid of the subservience, start thinking cleverly about how they're running a recruitment desk. You know, we talk a lot about things like productization, so selling better business, quality business, more retained embedded partnerships, that type of stuff. You know, how much time does a recruiter spend on a contingent basis working hard for a client that they're never going to get paid for? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. We do too much of that, and we've done too much of that in the past. That has to stop. I think, you know, just running a slick, tight business machine that is creating good profit, being proud about creating profit. And there's nothing wrong with going around saying, I'm more profitable, we're making money, because the way we make money is by doing a great job for our clients and our candidates. You know, we won't make money if we don't do our job. So deliver an amazing service. You know, we talk a lot about celebrity level service, you know, which is absolutely spot on. So great service to your customers and candidates. Be passionate about what you're doing, about your craft, but be proud about it. Be really, really proud. And this is like, we're talking recruitment. This is the same in any industry.
Yeah.
You walk into a pub and you meet someone working behind the bar who genuinely wants to make that next 30 seconds of pouring you a pint or making you a drink the best 30 seconds ever. You walk away with a smile on your face. It felt good. They felt good. It just worked. And guess what might happen? You might go back to that pub again. You might tell other people about it. You might spend a little bit more money. So the more pride in all of the work that we do, whether you're in recruitment or otherwise, I think is the real difference between people who are going to just get through this next stage and grow, and people who are going to grow exponentially. And to me, because it's an opportunity, if we're not growing exponentially, we're missing this opportunity.
That's awesome. That's an awesome conclusion to this podcast. Plus, you've got me thinking about a pint in a pub as well.
Oh, tell me about it. I know.
How nice would that be? James, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I've really enjoyed getting to know you a bit more. I will put some links underneath all of this. If somebody's trying to find you, where are you likely to be hanging out?
Yeah, so well, in my home shed at the bottom of my garden at the moment, probably for the next couple of months, obviously in lockdown. But no, so the recruitmentnetwork.com is our main website, and then we have a free source for people called trnworld.com, and anyone can register there, and they can access loads of tools and content and that type of stuff. You know, a big part of what we're trying to do is help the industry as much as sort of, you know, we're here to make money, but we're here also to support the industry, especially right now. So whatever we can do to help, we'd love to.
Wonderful stuff. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Lovely to catch up as always.